What we do here is go back.
Here we go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 9 of the Wheel Route. This is our last episode in single digits. We've come a long way. We want to remind you guys, the Wheel Route podcast is brought to you by the34.com. Check out the34.com for sports commentary and analysis, as well as all the happenings in the sports world. That is the34.com. Spell it out, no spaces, no dashes, nothing. I'm Logan Whitehouse, coming to you guys from Virginia Beach, Virginia. It was a beautiful weekend here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I am joined by Jordan Shank and guest host, just kidding, Jason Crack, back from his hiatus. Introduce yourself, guys.
Jordan Shank. I'm in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm on Twitter at ShankJordan.
Jason Crack, also in Harrisonburg, Virginia. On Twitter at Jason Crack.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at LogWanTheDawn. You can also find the show on Twitter at The Wheel Route. And you can send us an email, wheelroutepodcast@gmail.com. And we might be on iTunes this week if all goes well. So I know I've been plugging that for a while, but I think it's gonna happen this week. What are we drinking tonight, guys?
I've got a Devil's Backbone 8-point IPA. We've been giving Devil's Backbone a lot of free pub on the show recently, so I think if they want to, start making this a mutually beneficial arrangement, that would be appreciated.
We would be open to that.
I'm open to negotiations.
Yes.
I'm open to just getting free stuff, but I'm willing to negotiate, but I'm also open to just have them send us stuff.
Let's not give away the farm here, Logan.
Correct. What do you got?
I am drinking a delicious Budweiser Light.
Oh man, that's good, man. Happy for the crack in the middle of the announcement was my personal favorite thing. So
I'm trying to give the ambiance to the listeners.
Speaking of ambiance, you guys all know I'm a man of the people. I'm drinking a glass of red wine right now. Okay. It's gonna get real sexy in here in about 45 minutes. You guys just
you need to put like a saxophone intro.
We're gonna be talking about Bronco Mendenhall. Things are gonna get real luxurious.
And Bill Muschamp.
Oh, and Big Bill Muschamp. Yeah,
two wonderful heads of hair.
We have hit the ground running, and I'm excited about it.
So yeah, anyhow, that's what we got. I guess we should hit maybe some important stuff first. I think. So we had the final rankings came out. Yes. Well, the final important rankings came out. No drama surrounding Navy because I guess they dropped a game a few weeks back. So I think as it stands, we got Clemson, Bama, Michigan State, and Oklahoma in orders 1 through 4. You guys surprised at that? Any takeaways from that?
I'm not surprised. I think it all shook out kind of the way it's been designed to. So I don't have any qualms. I think it's good that we are including 4 teams because I think, in my perspective anyhow, there's 3 clearly kind of above the rest teams, and then whoever the Big Ten sent was kind of going to be viewed as a slightly lower tier, but we don't have at least one team on the outside with a viable complaint for being left out. So hooray for playoffs.
Yeah, I think somebody, I don't know if it was Andy Staples or Stuart Mandel, put it on Twitter, right now we're arguing basically about the order of 2 through 4 instead of who should be playing Clemson in the national championship, and that is like 1,000 times better. And it worked out that we had basically 2 or 3, depending on how you looked at it over the last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 national semifinals or quarterfinals, I guess they would be. So I think this is kind of like what everybody had in mind all these years for arguing for the playoff, saying 2 teams isn't enough. I think we got the best 4 teams. Very few people could argue against that, but it worked really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was, I guess, a little interested to see Oklahoma get jumped. I mean, I suppose they didn't have to play a conference championship game, but listening to Jeff Long talk, I heard a hit that he did on the radio yesterday. They said that they hadn't considered conference championships until everybody had played their conference championship game. So, I mean, sort of like the same thing that happened to the Big 12 last year. They fell at the end on the heels of, I guess, not playing a conference championship game. I definitely think Oklahoma, like Jordan said, is ahead of the Big Ten teams as far as eye test and how good they look. I suppose now the Big Ten teams maybe have a slightly better resume, especially Michigan State. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. And like you said, Jason, like it's nice that we have this instead of now having
3
like
weeks
pretty
of
much
anger.
3 or 4 really upset fan bases. But I guess I mean, speaking of upset fan bases, probably got to suck to be a Stanford fan right now. You pretty much crapped the bed in week 1 against Northwestern and lost yourself a shot at the playoff, which really sucks. And similarly, I guess you could make a similar argument for Ole Miss. They were pretty much one crazy game away from playing in the SEC championship game, and they're on the outside looking in. They did have 2 losses otherwise, but they would have had a really good record if they had got to play in the SEC championship game as well. So, and then I guess Ohio State. I mean, they lost 1 game and lost 2 weeks ago, and
Lost
just
at
pretty
the
much
wrong time.
Yep,
picked the wrong time to lose. But hey, they also picked the wrong time to lose to one of the few good teams they actually had to play this year. So, everybody wants to make it seem like the Big Ten is good, and they had, I guess, their top 3 are really good. But you kind of look at these Big Ten schedules sometimes, and it seems like they lack in some depth. But I guess Ohio State didn't know Virginia Tech was going to be bad when they scheduled them, so that's how it goes. But yeah, all around, I'm happy with this top 4, and I think it's a little interesting, and I don't know if it's disappointing that we're going to have pretty much 2 similarly style teams going against each other in the first round of games. But I guess that guarantees we'll see contrasting styles essentially in the national championship game, which would be kind of cool. So
Agreed.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's hit the conference championship games. Obviously, Alabama made it to the Final Four, so they did beat Florida. They rolled over Florida yesterday. This game, I think, went about kind of as we thought it would. Alabama actually didn't look very good in the first half of this game, from what I could gather, and I didn't watch too much of this game, mercifully. Probably would have pulled all my hair out and, not been with us today. But it sounds like typical Alabama game. Didn't look great in the first half. Derrick Henry got another 40 couple carries, I think, and they pulled away. Florida with the backdoor cover, Jordan. I think I called that. So
yeah, thanks for the hot gambling tip.
I hope you guys are out there. I'm making a strong run. So yeah. Anyhow, you guys got any thoughts on this game? It was pretty much a snoozer. Florida scored on a punt return in the first half. That was their only score.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Like you mentioned, Derrick Henry, another 40-plus carry game. So they're obviously, well, maybe not obviously. I guess, he's got a couple weeks to get his legs back and get healthy again before the real, playoff matchups start. But Kenyon Drake, I guess it looks like he got a couple carries, so maybe they're thinking, just ride Henry as hard as we can and start easing Kenyon Drake back into the mix, so we'll have him for the semifinal. But yeah, I wasn't expecting a whole lot from Florida in this game. I think it's admirable that they kept it to a 14-point margin, so good for them.
Yeah, I only saw bits and pieces of this amid JMU's postgame, but it did look like your basic Alabama game. It was not pretty football by any stretch of the imagination, but Alabama kind of, from about the middle of the second quarter on, just kind of laid on top of Florida and waited for them to stop fighting back, which I don't think they ever did, but when that defensive line leans on you, there's not much you can do. I think I saw stat something like in the second and third quarters, Florida had like 3 yards of offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think they finished with like 200 something, and I think
Right.
like 80 of those yards were on 2 different plays. So,
Yeah. So
they got clamped up. The offensive line, from what I sort of looked at, played a little bit better. The quarterback position at Florida is a real mess, though. Treon Harris just probably doesn't have what it takes. There's a hot take for you. He just really seems like he has gotten worse, and it was easy to blame it on the offensive line a few weeks ago, but it doesn't seem like he. I think I said this on Twitter. It doesn't seem like he cares that he sucks, and I think that's telling. I don't know. I mean, like, Jeff Driscoll played for Florida for a few years. I watched way too much of that, and he was mad at himself when he wouldn't play well. But Treon Harris doesn't even seem like he's aware that it's not going well for him, and pretty lackadaisical with the ball. And I mean, that's doom against Alabama. If you can't bring something different to the table or have any sort of edge, you're going to be in trouble. So Florida got in trouble quick, and that game was over quickly. But I guess they scored a touchdown late, so they got that backdoor cover. I hope you guys had money on that.
Yeah, look, and I think the narrative for Treon Harris, if he just starts winning games and playing outrageously, will that emotionless face of his will just be, he's so unflappable and nothing bothers him, right. And he's stone cold resolve. So anyhow,
I mean, I suppose that's
sports media.
Yeah. I'm not looking at him to, I don't want him to, break a chalkboard on the sideline or anything, but I just feel like he doesn't seem like maybe it seems like he doesn't receive coaching. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't, he hasn't gotten any better, and if anything, he's gotten worse. And but it was good to see the offensive line play a little better, and to see some of the wide receivers make plays. That's good for the future for Florida if they can ever figure out who's going to play quarterback there.
How many carries did Derrick Henry end with?
44.
43 or 44, yeah.
Hasn't it been 90 over 2 weeks?
Yes, that's correct.
That's bold.
So the Raiders are going to take him with their pick next year, and he's going to blow out his knee, I think, in week 2, and he's going to bounce around the league.
Guess how much money Alabama paid him per carry these last 2 weeks? $0.
Well, it is Alabama. They probably paid him more than that, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, $0 official dollars.
$0 official dollars. Bagman dollars, though. He was raking. He probably made $600, so good for him. All right, let's move on to the Big Ten game. I don't have really much to say about this game. Looks like Michigan State made a big drive at the end to take this from Iowa, and pretty classic Big Ten game, I think, here. Tight game. I think Iowa's running back got hurt in the first half, which probably limited them a bit. But low-scoring game. Michigan State makes a big drive at the end, like I said, and wins. So you guys got any thoughts there? Michigan State moves on to the playoff.
Yeah, bummer for Iowa to lose that running back. I think it was first quarter maybe. So I was kind of big on seeing Iowa go to the playoff if at all possible. There's one of the remnants of Mike London's first round of assistants is Jim Reed. He's now coaching linebackers at Iowa. So it would have been good to see him, a Mike London product, make it into the playoff somehow. Kind of from the grave, the Mike London coaching tree influence reach the highest level. But, didn't get to see that. So, again, I don't think that Michigan State, in anyone's eyes, is really completely on par with the other 3 teams in the playoff, but we'll get to find out.
Yeah, I actually watched a quarter and a half of this right at the end, and it was actually a lot more entertaining than any 16-13 game had a right to be. The last drive, as cheesy as it is, was legitimately incredible. 22 plays, just basically pounding it 3.5 yards every single snap, without failure. So it was actually kind of fun to watch, and I was rooting for Iowa just because it's such an awesome story, but it was genuinely an entertaining game, and if nothing else, it proved Iowa had a lot of doubters, and I think they definitely showed that they were legitimate, even if they weren't one of the top 4 teams.
Sure, that's right. So, good for Michigan State. From what I take it, Connor Cook didn't have his best game. This isn't his first. This isn't his first game back though. He played against Penn State last week, so I don't know if maybe he's still nicked up a little bit. Iowa has a good defense, so we should give them credit too.
Yeah,
but,
no, and I caught the kind of the highlight, the 4-minute highlight this afternoon, and I think he took a pretty big blow in the first half, and the announcers kind of said he never really looked the same after that, but was good enough on that last drive, I guess.
Yeah, those shoulder injuries are tough too. I mean, that's going to stay with you for a long time until you rest it. So, all right, let's move on to the ACC championship game. Clemson held on at the very end against North Carolina. This was a pretty sloppy game. I watched a good most of this game, and the first half was pretty sloppy, and North Carolina looked pretty good, and but I think Clemson was outgaining them like 3-1, but was barely leading at halftime. North Carolina, a couple of their scoring drives looked all right, I guess I should say. And I think North Carolina got a short field on sort of a pretty crazy play that I think, well, Dabo threw the kid under the bus, which we can maybe talk about, but the punter for Clemson just called his own fake and just took the ball and tried to run around the edge and just got tackled.
Yeah, fourth and 15.
Like 15 yards. I mean, he got tackled at like the line of scrimmage too, which was not, ideal. Not a Brad Wing roaring around the edge LSU, play. But, yeah, so I think that gave him a short field. North Carolina was able to capitalize there. But I think it came down to the very end. North Carolina had an onside kick to try to get the ball back down 8. And I think they called North Carolina offside when they had recovered the onside kick, which looked like it was the wrong call, and it's unfortunate that it went that way. But yeah, so I guess they redid it, and Clemson got the ball recovered, ran the clock out. That's how the game ended. It was close. It was a one-score game. I think, what was the final score? 27-19?
45-37.
Oh. Not even close. Yeah. What was I thinking? Why did I think that?
Was that the JMU score, maybe?
What was it?
No. I said 27-19.
No,
that's like some sort of bastardized version of the Florida score too. So
yeah,
I'm all over the place, guys.
Slightly
too much of that red wine, Logan.
Yeah, the red wines. I'm telling you, it's getting sexy, guys. So okay, 45-37, whatever the final score was. So I guess all the points we thought would be scored here. But yeah, Clemson moves on, and I don't know if North Carolina would have got into the playoff had they won. But
I think they needed a blowout just to even make it interesting.
Yeah, would have opened the door for Stanford though, possibly.
Yep.
True, but I think North Carolina I think played 2 FCS schools this year and had a loss to South Carolina, which I think is a pretty big drag. Hey, attention UVA scheduling department, that's how you do it right there. But I think yeah. Anyhow, what do you guys think about this game? I'm out of stuff to say there.
Yeah, I think the only two kind of things that stood out to me were Marquise Williams. I think had a red zone interception. There towards the end, something that bit him in week 1 against South Carolina. So as well as he's played the last couple of weeks, and really put together a good season after that South Carolina game, kind of had deja vu there a little bit. And then I guess the offsides penalty on the onside isn't a reviewable play. Am I safe in assuming that?
I guess. I mean, it has. I would have thought they would have got it right, but they might have not had the camera angle for it either. But yeah. I'm assuming that's one of those gets called like from the get-go kind of things. It's not reviewable. Yeah. Jason, do you know?
I have heard it's not reviewable. But I forget why I read about it last night because I didn't actually see the play because I was watching the Big Ten championship. But there was talk at one point they thought they might have thrown the flag because there were too many men on one side of the ball, but then that wasn't the case, and then they released the statement that said basically, the way I read it was they basically admitted that they got it wrong, and they said the refs thought that the play was offsides. They didn't even address the photo evidence, so I'm not sure.
Good year,
Hooray, ACC.
Yeah, good year for the ACC refs. My God,
kind of capped off the year for the ACC refs, and it sucks that a game of that importance came down to that.
But hey, you know what? The ACC's got to get that playoff money, and they're not getting it if UNC wins.
True.
So, so thanks for taking a bullet, Carolina, is what we're saying.
Always. I'm sure they'll get it back in basketball season anyway. So.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. So, any more takeaways there? I thought it was that probably was the game we expected score wise. But that was that's how it ends. So we move on to the Pac-12 championship game. This is, I guess, a little bit of an afterthought, but it was still a pretty good matchup. Stanford pulled away from USC there in the second half. Definitely another Christian McCaffrey Heisman party in this game. That kid's amazing. He returns kicks and returns punts and plays running back, and he runs a mean wheel route and is always open. And, Stanford's a lot of fun to watch play when they got it rolling like this. And it's a little disappointing they won't be in the playoff, I think, just because I think they're probably one of the top 4 teams in the country right now. But resume does matter. They have a pretty stinky loss. So, did you guys watch too much of this game?
I did not. But yeah, like you said, Logan, I would agree. It's kind of a bummer we don't get to see Stanford. I think ideally we would see like a Stanford-Michigan State play-in game.
That'd be fun.
But kind of hard to rewrite the legislation at this point in the year. So.
Right. Jason?
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see any of this game. I just saw McCaffrey's final line, which was ridiculous.
Yeah. I think he's like over 1,000 yards ahead of the next closest guy that for total yardage. For all-purpose yards this year, which is
I think you're
insane.
Right.
There's not. Yeah.
I mean, I've probably only seen 30 plays of his this year, which is not. It's kind of embarrassing on my part, but I mean, people are talking about him in the same sentence as Reggie Bush, who is one of, if not the best college football player that I've seen in my, granted, short college football watching experience. But I mean, he's ridiculous.
I'd be interested to know what Reggie Bush's like usage rate was, if that's like a stat. I know that it is, in basketball,
right.
But because Reggie Bush averaged 10.5 yards a touch that year that he won the Heisman, and I think McCaffrey averages 8.5. But I'm sure McCaffrey has a zillion more touches because he's pretty much dots the I for them a lot of the time.
Right.
And
yeah, he
wasn't dealing with
not
Lendell
playing
White.
Alongside a Lendell White
Exactly.
in company. So,
but yeah, they have that same pizzazz. I'm glad that that's picking up steam because they look like the same player when they run, the way they cut against the grain and their vision and their sort of just overall flexibility on the field.
You see the one cut and all of a sudden they're in open field on the other side of the field.
And you see some poor safety trying to run him down, and
right.
the guy just puts moves on the guy, and he's just turning around at full stride.
Has the perfect angle, and then all of a sudden is tripping over the bench, and he's like, "Well, I would have done that too." So
he's a lot of fun, and frankly, Stanford is a lot of fun, which I don't think we could have said in years past. He might be most of the reason, but like we said, bummer for Stanford, missing out on the playoff. That's that's no good, but they have it's all wrapped up for them. So okay, I think that wraps it up for games. I mean, there was a Texas Baylor game, which was I don't think very exciting. I think Baylor's fourth-string quarterback had to play, so Baylor had a tough year on the injury front. So hopefully they get back to themselves next year because I think college football is a lot more fun when they're just clicking on all cylinders, but that's what happens when you run that kind of offense too. I mean, you let your quarterback get hit. And any other thoughts? I think that was really the only other game of any consequence at all.
I think you're right. I think it's time to move on.
Let's do it. All right, guys, we got the full 2015-2016 bowl schedule has been released this afternoon, so I'm going to run through these real fast. We can give some initial thoughts. I don't think we're not picking these games now, but I just want to get you guys wheels turning on this a little bit. Okay?
Okay, go for it.
Let's do it.
Hold on. The PDF is opening. I'm sorry. All right, I got it written down anyway. Okay, so man, what order is this in? Jeez Louise. Okay. Bowl schedule. Saturday, December 19th. Looks like it's the first game, which seems late to me. I don't know if that's true. But we got 5 games. So we got, first of all, the Gildan and New Mexico Bowl. We're going to see Arizona play New Mexico.
How convenient for New Mexico.
Yeah, that must be nice. So, Rich Rodriguez, fresh off spurning the University of South Carolina's head coaching job, will be leading his boys into New Mexico, into, I'm sure, a hostile crowd on December 19th. So that should be a good one. Next, we got the Royal Purple Las Vegas Bowl. I'm mainly just reading this because I love the names of the bowls, so just bear with me here. Number 22, Utah, takes on BYU. So we get a Holy War Part 2. This will be Bronco Mendenhall's last game as coach of the Brigham Young University Cougars. And I think these teams don't like each other very much, so this might be one to watch, actually. Okay. No thoughts. Moving on. We got the
I have no thoughts about that game.
Utah BYU. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. That's a tale as old as time.
Yeah, I would just say if the 3-4 wants to send us out to scout Bronco Mendenhall and cover Holy War Part 2, I will fall on the sword and go to Vegas that weekend.
Yeah, that sounds all right. I could be there. It's the night. It's
a generous soul.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
I'll bring the laptop. Take some notes.
Wow.
Hot spot.
Going all out.
So, okay, next up we got the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl, which is interesting. The camellia is it's a tree native to this region of the country, I believe. It's got pretty white flowers. There was one behind my old house. Remember the beach house I lived at? That big tree in the backyard? That was a camellia tree. There you go.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Jason?
App State.
The what?
Sorry.
Get up on your botany, dog.
Yeah, come on. This is a college football lifestyle and botany podcast, so we're gonna have to brush up in the off season.
I am in the wrong
Anyhow, the
podcast.
Raycom Media Camellia Bowl pits Appalachian State versus Ohio. All right, moving on. The Auto Nation Cure Bowl. Let me remind you guys that game is happening in Montgomery, Alabama. The Auto Nation Cure Bowl is happening in Orlando, Florida, in the Citrus Bowl Stadium. That is going to be Georgia State versus San Jose State.
Can we talk about how weird it is that Georgia State isn't a bowl?
I mean, I guess that's weird. Appalachian State's in a bowl too, so.
Well, yeah, but they were actually good since they moved up to FBS. Georgia State was terrible.
Yeah.
In FCS and FBS, and then I don't know.
Listen, man.
I think this might be the first I'm hearing of Georgia State being a bowl, like playing in the bowl subdivision. So
yeah, Jason? Do you know offhand who their coach is?
I did.
Okay.
Is it Shane Beamer?
It is certainly not.
It's
Shane
not
Beamer.
about. It's not like one of like the
Not
scorned.
yet.
It's not one of the scorned Bowden brothers, is it? I don't think so.
Give me one.
Terry
second.
coaches
Bowden.
Akron, I think. So, and I don't think I
That
don't
sounds
think
right.
Jeff is coaching anybody right now. This seems like a game that like Tommy Tuberville or one of the scorned Bowden brothers would be coaching.
He's
and,
somehow involved, right? He has to
you
be.
would think. So, anyhow, you do some research there.
Oh, no, wait, that's basketball. Sorry.
Oh, it's Lefty Drizel. Lefty Drizel is the best one.
Oh, Ron Hunter, that guy that fell out of his care. And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm watching the wrong sport.
Yep.
While you're looking that up, Crack, the next game is the RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl. This happens in New Orleans, and it pits Arkansas State versus Louisiana Tech. So I'm thinking Louisiana Tech, I guess, has a bit of a home field advantage there, but Arkansas State knows how to travel. If any fan base does.
Allegedly.
I mean, besides the fact that every football game ever played should be held in New Orleans.
Well, if it's a college football game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, Georgia State's head coach is Trent Miles.
Okay. Well.
His first year at Georgia
Any
State was
relation to Les
2013.
Miles?
Ooh.
Going by his picture, no.
Okay. It was worth a shot.
What is that supposed to? What is
I
that
don't have
supposed to mean,
another.
Jason?
I don't have another way of putting that.
Is he black? You can say he's black.
There's a distant relation. I mean, he might not be. I don't know. I might be.
Okay.
Oh no, Logan, you got some editing to do.
No,
Yeah, we're gonna
I'm
cut
not
this
editing
out.
this. You're allowed to say black. This is the year 2015.
Anyway, Georgia State in 2013 was 0-12, and Georgia State in 2014 was 1-11, and now they're in a bowl.
He's turning that
So-
thing around.
Man,
Kudos to Coach Trent Miles.
South Carolina should have hired him. Oh. Okay, moving on. Monday,
Yep.
December 21st, the Miami Beach Bowl. This is in Miami, Florida.
That is a creative name.
Yeah, and not played on the beach, which is unfortunate because that'd be a whole lot more fun. But I think this might be the game actually that Memphis and BYU got in that huge fight during last year that involved like multiple sucker punches and helmet weapon incidents, which was awesome. So the USF is going to play Western Kentucky. I think USF and Western Kentucky both have held on to both their coaches so far, Willie Taggart and Jeff Brom. So good for both of those schools. I think Brom was scheduled allegedly to interview with UVA this week, but I don't think that's going to be happening.
Smoke screen.
Smoke screen.
All smoke screen.
Classic UVA. So
Classic smoke screen.
Okay.
Next up, we got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. They're going to play this on the blue turf in Boise. Akron takes on Utah State. Now we have a scorned Bowden brother in the bowls, which really makes me happy. So
It was a matter
good
of time.
for them. We got the Boca Raton Bowl. Boca Raton, maybe that's how I should say it. Number 24 Temple takes on Toledo. This could be a good game if both teams are there. I think Toledo lost their head coach. I don't know if he's going to coach in this game or not. But Temple did not lose their head coach yet, and yeah, I think that actually could be a good game. Toledo's pretty good, and Temple's all right, I guess. Yeah, they got some dude.
Temple's a solid team right there.
Yeah, they hit.
Yeah.
They flow side to side pretty well. All right, next up we got the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. And Boise State will play Northern Illinois in that game. It's in San Diego, Wednesday, December 23rd. I have no thoughts on that game. The GoDaddy Bowl is next. Bowling Green will play Georgia Southern in Mobile, Alabama. So that could be fun. Bowling Green lost their coach, obviously, to Syracuse, but Georgia Southern is a really fun team to watch play. And so is Bowling Green. I watched some of their game with, I guess, who'd they play? Houston?
Yeah, that's a sneaky, really fun game to watch.
Mark the GoDaddy Bowl. Also, probably have some awesome GoDaddy commercials during that game. We know how much the general public loves those commercials.
Also being played in Ladd Peebles Stadium.
Oh, in Mobile,
Which-
Alabama.
Outstanding name, yes.
Okay, and this is maybe my favorite bowl game of them all, the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl, which is played in Nassau, Bahamas. Title sponsor, Popeyes. Shout out to Popeyes. Middle Tennessee plays Western Michigan. So, anyhow, good for the Western Michigan kids. Get out of Michigan for probably a week or so and hang out in Nassau.
Well, and the Middle Tennessee kids, to be
I was
fair.
going to say, let's not...
Well, I mean, Middle Tennessee could be all right.
That's Murfreesboro, isn't
I
it?
think you're right.
Yeah.
Good pull.
So kudos for getting a Christmas in Honolulu.
Yeah. No, Nassau, Bahamas, but not quite Honolulu.
I read the wrong
okay.
line.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah,
I wonder,
Same idea.
I'm waiting for the day where, like, a coach, just tells his AD, like, keep declining bowl invitations until we get to go to the Bahamas. I don't care about the money. I want
12th
these
ranked.
kids to go
yeah,
to the
because
Bahamas.
12th ranked team in the country just keeps declining until they get the
Yeah,
Hawaii
we're not
Bowl.
going to the Chick-fil-A Bowl. We're not going to any of the other, like,
Right.
prestigious non-playoff bowls. We're going to the Bahamas.
well, I mean, the only thing that these bowls are good for is the fact your team gets 15 extra practices, right? So, I mean, that's really especially if you have a situation like, say, a Florida where you maybe need some quarterback work or something like that. It's good to have extra practice, but these games really don't mean much, and that's why it's hard to pick them, which is why we're totally picking them. So, we'll move on next to the Hawaii Bowl. Hawaii, sadly, not bowl eligible this year, so they can't play in their own bowl game as usual. So, Cincinnati will play San Diego State in Honolulu. Good for the kids from Cincinnati getting to go to Honolulu. Also, poor scheduling on part of the Honolulu Bowl, letting the San Diego State kids go to Hawaii. They live in San Diego. Come on. You don't want to send, like, UConn out there or something like that? Anyhow. Maybe we should be in charge of this. Just, like, justly handing out bowl invitations based on location in the country.
Geographical merit
Right.
is our number one, ranking criteria.
Exactly. St. Petersburg Bowl. God, there's a lot of bowls. This is taking forever. And I don't care about any of these games. Marshall versus UConn, St. Petersburg, Florida, December 26th.
No thoughts. Next.
Good for both of those teams.
Congrats.
Marshall's coach was a hot coaching commodity. Haven't heard him tied to too many jobs, so maybe he's fallen off a little bit. But led the boys back to the St. Petersburg Bowl, so good for them. All right, we got the Hyundai Sun Bowl next. Miami plays Washington State. This could be fun. Miami's a wild card, but they got a good quarterback, and Washington State doesn't have a tremendous defense, but Washington State's a ton of fun.
They've got Mike Leach.
And it's in El Paso, which is, great backdrop for a bowl game. Moving up next, we have really a travesty that Zaxby's is the title sponsor of the Heart of Dallas Bowl, because I feel like Zaxby's needs to be like the Heart of Atlanta Bowl, or.
Is there even a Zaxby's in Dallas?
Oh, I'm sure there is. Those
Yeah, probably.
bastards. They're taking all the good stuff.
Probably at the airport or something.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Southern Miss takes on Washington. Jeez, I don't even know. Washington, I didn't even think they would be bowl eligible this year, so good for them. Next up, we got the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. This game is in Yankee Stadium, I think, which is always awesome. Duke plays Indiana in a matchup that will surely disappoint. Camping World, go ahead.
It's, noted college football loving city, the Bronx, New York. So I think they're just kind of playing to the fans
not
there.
far.
How many of those fans are going to show up thinking it's a basketball game
30%.
between Duke and Indiana?
in 30-degree temperatures in the Bronx in January or December.
No, they're doing this one outside for TV and stuff.
And we played in
What
hoodies.
is that
It's fine.
accent, Jordan?
Yeah, what?
That's like
Those are the
salty
people-
New Jersey, Philadelphia.
The Bronx, New Jersey.
I was thinking that was the
Yeah.
people that came to watch this game that are from Toronto that just made the short drive in. But anyhow,
Oh, well,
it's okay.
yeah.
All
Next.
all accents converge at Borat anyway, so we'll just we'll be doing that pretty soon. Camping World Independence Bowl, Tulsa. Oh, here we go. Tulsa versus Virginia Tech, and only fitting Virginia Tech and Frank Beamer's send-off bowl game is in a camping themed bowl game in Shreveport, Louisiana. So good for those teams. I hope Beamer gets a win in his last game. All right, Foster Farms.
Psych.
I didn't say it. I didn't say allegedly.
I did.
Foster Farms Bowl, Nebraska versus UCLA. This is probably two pretty teams that have had pretty disappointing seasons, so look for them both to show up super motivated. For this game, it's in horrible Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, and yeah, I'm sure that'll be a half full stadium, just really rocking atmosphere. Military Bowl, we got Navy versus Pittsburgh. It's in Annapolis. Seems a little advantageous for Navy, but good for them. Did you guys see Pittsburgh's running back James Conner announce he had lymphoma?
Yeah, that sucks.
Really sucks.
Yeah, get better, James. Thoughts and prayers out to you. Yeah, that
Seems like he's kind of an all-around badass. So
Yeah.
we're pulling
Yeah,
for him.
exactly. I'm sure he'll beat it, but anyhow, thoughts and prayers with him for sure. All right, the Quick Lane Bowl. Just the Quick Lane. That's all it says, Quick Lane. Central Michigan versus Minnesota. It's in Detroit. So Central Michigan surely will have a packed house there. The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, Air Force versus California. It's in Fort Worth, Texas. That'll be a good one.
Cool.
Russell Athletic Bowl. All right, we're starting to get into some ranked teams now. North Carolina plays Baylor in this game.
That'd be a fun game.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, especially if Baylor can get like a QB that's not fourth or fifth string healthy by the time this game rolls around.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see what North.
Actively playing in a sling.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's interesting to see which, I guess, version of both teams shows up, because both teams had a bit of a letdown towards the end of the year. So, but two fun teams, fun offenses. Has the makings of a good game. So we'll flag that one. All right, we got the Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl. God, Colorado State versus Nevada. It's in Tucson. Okay, the Advocare V100 Texas Bowl. This is going to be a bloodbath. LSU versus Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech, I read, had the 126th out of 128th ranked rush defense, and they get to try to bottle up Leonard Fournette. So, good luck, Texas Tech. We'll be praying for you guys as well.
Please stay healthy.
In our thoughts and prayers, Texas Tech front seven. Birmingham Bowl, Auburn versus Memphis. Fuente's not coaching this game, is he?
No, he is on staff and working in Blacksburg.
Okay. So, anyhow, so we'll see what they have cooked up there. Auburn had a pretty rough season and will probably be without their illustrious defensive coordinator. So, Okay, up next, the infamous Belk Bowl. We got Mississippi State and North Carolina State. That could be an okay game. That'll be the last game of Dak Prescott's career, so look for him to go out guns a-blazing and watch that. Up next, we got the Franklin, what is that? American Mortgage Music City Bowl. I don't know what these abbreviations.
Yeah, there's like 3 abbreviations in this one.
Franklin Music City Bowl.
Amhermort music. It's all one word. They just accidentally put periods in. It's like Shield.
Louisville is playing Texas A&M. I have no interest in watching Louisville play football right now, or this whole season, actually. They're not very much fun. I'm frankly surprised they're bowl eligible. So,
Hi, Colton.
Yeah, sorry, Colton. The truth will set you free. The National University Holiday Bowl, USC versus Wisconsin. Whatever. Okay, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Florida State versus Houston.
That could be fun.
I like this game. I think that could be a fun game. Herman's staying with Houston. Obviously, Jimbo's staying with Florida State. Both teams will come in after having pretty good seasons. I mean, might as well show up. This could also be that game where Utah beats Alabama and then talks about it for years and years to come, as if they're actually a better team than Alabama. If Houston just runs it up on Florida State randomly because Florida State comes out flat. So look out for
FSU Twitter will be awesome.
Look out for that.
Yeah, I'm also thankful for a noon kickoff here, just because it sets the stage real nice for watch the first half of that game, take a nap, and then catch the end and transition smoothly.
That's gonna be weird. I'm gonna have to do some creative work scheduling that day.
Yeah.
All right, I'll figure that out. That won't be too bad. Okay, I guess since this is in chronological order, then it cuts into the 2 playoff games. So Clemson plays Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. We know that. That's in Miami. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl is in the Cotton Bowl, as Keith Jackson would say. Is in Arlington, Texas. Alabama takes on Michigan State. We obviously know those games are happening, and we'll probably discuss them ad nauseum. So the Outback Bowl, though, is always the first game on January 1st. Northwestern versus Tennessee. Pretty disappointing matchup of ranked teams here, if you ask me. Northwestern somehow is 13th. So, I mean, maybe they are good.
It's that Stanford win.
Just bolstering their schedule. They probably played the same freaking schedule Iowa played, just lost to Iowa, and, somehow ranked 13th. But we got the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl. Michigan plays Florida. So this will surely be a game of zero offense. Man.
Who can
someone's going to kick a field goal with 7 minutes left?
Well, Florida's not going to kick a field goal, I'm going to tell you that.
Well, no.
So by someone, you mean maybe Treon will fumble the ball and then just kick it because he's mad, and it'll go through the uprights and it'll count.
The best drop kick in college football history.
The Battle Frog Fiesta Bowl, which I don't know what Battle Frog is, but they're
the hilarious sponsor of the Fiesta Bowl.
All right.
I think they're
I'm
just
sure we'll know by the first commercial break.
When the chairman of Battle Frog comes out and gives us a 5-minute soliloquy about how proud they are to host the game. Ohio State Notre Dame. This could be a really good game though. If Ohio State comes to play, and if Notre Dame does too. But this is a playoff caliber matchup right here, so that should be fun. Rose Bowl. Well, should be good too. Iowa versus Stanford. That's a strength-on-strength kind of game. The Sugar Bowl. Ole Miss versus Oklahoma State. Ole Miss looks to avoid getting shelled by a Big 12 team for the second consecutive year in the Sugar Bowl. We got the Tax Slayer. I guess it's just the Tax Slayer Bowl, right? Georgia versus Penn State. I don't want to watch that. AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Arkansas takes on Kansas State. Arkansas should roll in that game, I think. Should. The Valero Alamo Bowl. We got TCU, Oregon. That could be fun.
That'll be a fun game.
If TCU, depending on how their quarterback situation shakes out, I'm never really sure where they stand right now. But I got to think Boykin will play. It's his last game, right?
Yeah.
Fine. God, we got
can't hold anything back.
Two more. We got 2 more guys. Well, actually, only 1 more. The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, which is an awesome name. Arizona State versus West Virginia. So that's cool.
Sure.
And then the national championship game, which will pit the winner of the playoff games against each other, and that'll wrap it up for the year, guys. So we're here at the end. So I think we said you should make a point to watch the Georgia Southern game. And I think there was a couple other ones. North Carolina Baylor should be fun. I always love watching the option teams play.
The Houston game.
Oh yeah,
Who was
Houston,
that? We
Florida
said that.
State. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be fun. That'll be at noon on New Year's Eve. So you might as well just take the day off on New Year's Eve, just work a half day, and then just start consuming football and cheese dip at like noon.
Yep.
And I hope none of you guys made plans to like go to parties or go to New York City or anything. These games are at 4 and 8 on New Year's Eve. They're not cutting anybody any slack.
Yeah, this is a lifestyle, people.
True. So,
Make your commitment.
all right, that's bowl schedule. I hope you guys just fast forwarded through that 15-minute rambling story there.
I know.
Let's get into the good stuff, though, guys. We got a lot of coaching changes officially went through this week. So we touched on it last week, but it was official. Les Miles is staying at LSU. Jason, do you have any thoughts on that? Jordan and I just kind of it just seems like an unsavory situation, and I don't know really if anybody wins, and I definitely don't know if LSU goes 8-4 again. They're in the same place, next year, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, Les is bringing in the number one recruiting class, right?
Well, they always bring in the number one recruiting class, but yeah.
No, that's fair. But it kind of seemed like some sort of weird power play that went horribly awry,
Sure.
and it's not. It's weird that I guess not weird, but Les Miles is pretty much the only one that came out looking shiny, and that's because I feel like he's capable of doing that with any situation.
Well, he
somehow.
was in a no-lose situation. Either he was going to be, fired
Right.
without cause, or he was going to
it was
get
just
to stay. But
it was strangely handled, and then strangely leaked, and then strangely walked back. Like every step of the way was just very odd, and thus perfect for college football in the South.
yeah, I suppose. I just still think that this seems like nobody wins in this situation, and it's just going to be
pretty.
super tense until he's not the coach there anymore. But he's
You're not wrong.
he's 62, 63, something like that. I don't think he's a young man. I doubt he has too many years left. But you never know. He doesn't seem that old, much like Saban, which is kind of scary. So I guess we had this week. It was made official after a lot of maybe smokescreen flirtation with Virginia. I think Mark Richt returned to his alma mater, Miami, as the football coach. And I think this is I guess I want to maybe say it's a home run hire. It seems like a really good hire for Miami. I think Mark Richt sort of is what he is at this point. He's a really good coach. He's a great guy. I think he's the exact kind of guy you want to be your football coach. Of all the teams in the world to go to, a wildly inconsistent Miami team is going to be pretty interesting with him because his Georgia teams didn't lack for inconsistency. But any takeaways on this? I guess I was a little bummed. I kind of was really hoping he'd be the Virginia coach. I thought he'd be a good fit there, but
Yeah. Oh, I got some takes on
okay,
this.
go ahead.
Let me tell you.
Have at it, Jordan. I'm going to turn it over to you. I've been talking too much.
So, as someone who followed the whole Mark Richt, because we've mentioned this on previous episodes that kind of when things started to be appearing to be spiraling out of control for Richt and his future at Georgia, we mentioned him as, man, wouldn't that be neat if he came and coached UVA? Seems like similar academic and institutional cultures. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but if UVA can really scrape some money together, we could make it happen. So apparently, he gets fired and says, "Okay, I'm gonna listen to any and all opportunities that are out there. I'll listen to whoever wants to talk." So there were reports that, it's just a strange situation. There were reports that came out, said he met with a few teams in Atlanta Monday and Tuesday during the week. And then Wednesday, it was reported that he was in Charlottesville, Virginia. So that's when all the UVA smoke really started heating up that, this seems to be like the best fit for him if he is indeed going to coach next year. And close, sources close to the family were saying he either won't coach next year or it'll almost surely be UVA. So that got everyone UVA related pretty fired up. And then in a few hours later, he was going to be announced the next coach of Miami, and everyone was kind of scratching their head, what went wrong, what took place. the cherry on top was after it came out that he's taking the Miami job, people, I guess, tied into UVA stuff. Some of the local news writers and reporters started saying that their sources, or they had other sources come out and say that he was never in Charlottesville to begin with. So
Wow.
the ghost of Mark Richt evidently did or did not interview for the UVA job in Charlottesville
Dining
on
on
Wednesday.
fake lunches up and down the East Coast.
Surely
Yeah, so-
leverage the idea of that. They're probably I'm sure he
and
got a good
that's
offer,
the
but,
from what I've been able to read and gather and kind of parse together, my theory is that his agents and kind of team leaked that he was actually in Virginia interviewing so that he could get more from Miami, whether that was in terms of like commitment for assistance and facilities and this, that, and the other. So if that's the case, then kudos to his guys. They know what they're doing there. But yeah, just a really strange situation that gets, amplified by social media and Twitter and the, 30-second news cycle. So.
Yep, I have actually told this to a lot of people, but anytime you hear sources when it comes to college sports, the source is somebody with an agenda that wants to shift the discussion.
Oh yeah.
And they never have a better 3-month period than the 3 months immediately following the last football game of the year. So it's kind of sickly fascinating for somebody in my business to watch all of the agendas play out, but it doesn't lend itself to the sanity of people involved.
Sure.
And it's just a weird time.
Yeah, definitely the silly season for sure. So Rick to Miami, and that's I think a pretty good hire for Miami. That was as good as I figured they were going to do for sure. So a guy with actual head coaching experience, and it seemed like from everything you heard, they were going to probably have to talk themselves into somebody that maybe didn't have quite the experience that they probably need. And it's good. I mean, I didn't know that he went to Miami, so that makes a lot of sense. And someone who knows the school, and God knows he can recruit, and that's a easy area to recruit. So if he can get some kids coming in that can stay in and develop a little bit better than Miami has been developing talent, they could be a pretty scary team. So we'll see what plays out there in the coming years. Doesn't bode well necessarily for the other teams in the ACC Coastal, but a lot of teams are reshuffling right now. So Justin Fuente to Virginia Tech, we talked about this too. Craig, do you have any thoughts on him? I thought it was just a really solid hire for Virginia Tech. I mean, I think they did a perfect job.
I think it was the best hire of the cycle.
Oh, come on, dude. Will Muschamp got a
Whoa,
job.
whoa,
Easy,
whoa, whoa.
easy. Dino Bavers? Are you kidding me? Yeah. No, I think.
So like I said, I'm going to rest this case. And
yeah, it kind of pains
No,
me.
I mean,
It pains me to hear you say that. Just obviously my personal agenda being what it is.
That's fair.
But I think they did a really good job with that. And
yeah, I mean, the goal the whole time was to move fast and to
Right.
get a stud, and they did both of those things to the point that it accidentally leaked in the middle of the Virginia Tech UVA.
I doubt that was an accident,
So-
but yes.
Well, if it was not an accident, I would be interested to know that person.
Jason, a wise man once told me that if anything ever leaks with sources,
Okay,
that
that's what I'm
that means there's an
God,
agenda
I'm-
behind it, and
I hate this job. I hate it.
no, you're right. I mean, yeah, so good for Virginia Tech. Sounds like he's already working, and look at that. It's almost like if you announce your coach is not going to be coming back a few weeks before the end of the season, then you can get a jump start on it. So, interesting. And
What experience would you have with that, Logan?
I don't want to talk about this. But what I do want to talk about, UVA hired a football coach and pretty much stuck to their new sort of way of doing things. This reminded me so much of the. This reminded me a lot of the way that UVA hired Tony Bennett, the basketball coach. Everybody thought we were going to hire Tubby Smith. You can maybe replace Tubby Smith with Mark Richt or another name. Who's the coach at Cal? Sonny Dykes or something like that. And
Mac Brown.
oh God, no! I refuse to mention that.
No, but we can laugh about
Yes,
it now
we can.
it didn't happen.
And then it just, it's all quiet on the front, and then UVA says we're going to make an announcement. It's pretty cool. I got to kind of watch it unfold on Twitter. I was obviously sitting there with like knots in my stomach just for no reason because I take this stuff just entirely too seriously. And all of a sudden, I don't know who it was, tweeted out that my sources indicate Bronco Mendenhall is taking the job. And it's like, wow, Bronco Mendenhall, not a name. I don't think anybody considered him even moving. And I honestly think it's a really good hire for UVA. I was not, much like with Tony Bennett, I was kind of like, guy out west that I don't know a whole lot about. But I know UVA is like scheduled to play BYU a couple times in the past few years, and they're fun scheduling dalliances that they've gone on. And I never liked playing BYU. They were always a real pain in the butt to play. They're usually really well coached, good team. So I think it's a really good hire for UVA. Jordan, I know you want to talk about it. What do you got?
Yeah, I got really emotionally involved in the whole Mark Richt possibility. So as a scorned lover, so to speak, I'm still recovering emotionally from that snafu. But, having some time to reflect on it, I do think that it's about as good of a hire as you could ask for, yes. Especially this, the situation that UVA has been in the past 3 or 4 years. It looked like all engines were go that Chick-fil-A bowl season, and then everything kind of went off the rails, and things looked not so great. So to be able to make that kind of hire, to be able to keep it under wraps the way they did, especially, it's one thing to keep a hire under wraps while a football regular season is going on and there are games and conference championships to distract people with, but or at least a full week of games for people to be distracted by. But after that, last regular season game, it's pretty much all about the coaching carousel. So for them to be able to keep it under wraps is incredible.
Yeah. And so, apparently they flew out there and interviewed him right after the Utah State game too. BYU's last game of the year. So I mean, this has been in the works for a while, and kudos to UVA for throwing up all the smoke they needed to throw up to cover this up. I mean, he was a name that, honestly, I don't know if maybe someone mentioned it at the beginning of the year that you ask, like, I wonder why Bronco Mendenhall doesn't get brought up for more jobs, But, here he is. It sounds like he wants the challenge, and I'm excited to have a guy with some top-flight head coaching experience that's had to, play in a conference and out of a conference, knows how to navigate, tough stuff like that, and we'll see how it goes recruiting wise. I think it was, I don't know who I was saying this to, maybe my dad. It's a little easier for a basketball coach to come from out west because you only got to convince like 2 or 3 guys a year to come play for you. But football is a little different as far as recruiting goes. So I hope he can get plugged in quickly. But I think the immediate reaction from a lot of the recruits I had seen was pretty positive. So if you get a positive immediate impact, that's good.
Yeah, they've said kind of, that's going to be part of the challenge in the staff of assistants he puts together. I know all of UVA's previous assistants, except for 2, were relieved of their duties late Friday or early Saturday. So the 2 that are, currently still employed are Chris Beatty, who's the running backs coach, knows the area really well, can recruit his tail off, and Marcus Higgins, wide receivers coach, who also another strong recruiter. So I would imagine that those 2 stay on in some capacity to kind of help, even initially with kind of the recruiting transition and for the next couple of years, help establish some footholds for that new staff coming in.
Yeah, but it's not like other schools in the area aren't going to be breaking in new coaches either. So,
right.
Tech's got a new one, so does Maryland. So, okay, I think that's enough about that. We'll talk maybe more in depth about that eventually. Maybe when we do some film study of BYU. What do you say, guys? We'll do a film study
That's
episode.
Right. To get us through the month of February.
Exactly. I guess I mentioned Maryland. I didn't put this on our list, but Maryland hired DJ Durkin defensive coordinator from Michigan. He was a guy I had on my list for UVA as, why not kind of guy. He's got experience in the SEC. He coached under Urban Meyer, under Will Muschamp as well, but he's run a really good defense everywhere he's been. And, so, I think he's a dynamite recruiter, too, for whatever that's worth. But he's one of those guys that kind of has that head coach look to him. So, whatever. Good luck at Maryland.
You're going to need it.
Rousing endorsement.
Go get him, DJ.
Screw it. Whatever.
Whatever, DJ. Dino Babers accepted the job at Syracuse. Another guy that kind of got his name tossed around at all these sort of mid-Atlantic jobs and one, or even, I think he was tied to the UCF job, too, for a while. He's, kind of a weird spread offense guy. Seems pretty married to that. So good luck at Syracuse, Dino, with that. Here we go, though. Earlier today, this has been brewing all weekend. South Carolina, well, I guess I should start with last night. Arizona's athletic director actually tweeted out from his, ostensibly his personal account, his athletic director account, that he was happy to announce that their coach, name is eluding me, Rich Rodriguez, had declined an offer to become the head coach at South Carolina and is happy to be a Arizona, whatever they are, Wildcat. And so I think then that turned it into overdrive. And then this morning, I guess it was announced that South Carolina was holding a board meeting to approve an athletics contract, and Will Muschamp was announced as the next coach at South Carolina. And the stuff I've been reading is that he's been preaching that he's going to make some changes on offense and take a slightly different approach, which all sounds well and good until you look at the staff that he's trying to assemble, which basically involves offensive special assistant for the Cleveland Browns, Kurt Roper. You might know him as the architect of the stinking pile of manure that was Florida's offense last year, to be co-offensive coordinator. And I think he's bringing. Do you
need Jordan and us? Can we hang up real quick? You can just go for a while.
Well, I'm just saying,
Should I take a bathroom break?
No, you don't need to take a bathroom break. This is awesome. I'm happy as a Florida fan. I am more than happy to have Will Muschamp back doing some silly things at a more disadvantaged school. So I think, who is it? Spencer Hall said maybe Will Muschamp can just go around destroying programs that Steve Spurrier rose to greatness one at a time. So he'll probably be the cart boy at a golf course next,
next is Augusta National,
and burn his whatever funeral home down or something eventually. So yes, anyhow, that's enough of that. Will Muschamp hired as the head coach at South Carolina. I mean, we all kind of know what he brings to the table. He's a superb recruiter. They always run a really good defense, but his team's offenses have been lacking, to say the least. You guys got any?
And by all accounts, a fantastic human being.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
When he's not screaming.
Well, his sideline behavior aside, by all accounts, really almost Mark Richt type of man. Really cleaned up a Florida program that had a lot of problems.
Needed cleaning up.
What'd you say?
I said that needed cleaning up.
Yeah, needed cleaning up. Had a lot of internal turmoil and issues. So I don't want to take that away from him. And I like Muschamp, and he's always good for a laugh. His sideline antics are one of a kind. Frankly, I mean, I don't know if you guys watch the Iron Bowl, but he gets hot quickly. So
blood pressure checks.
I'm very excited that he'll get to spend more time in front of a microphone. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, press conferences, always great.
Halftime interviews.
Yep.
Let's get it.
Anything live.
I was actually at that South Carolina game when he went on that big old thing about overcoming the adversity on the field and just screamed so loud at the.
We were at that South
Jason
Carolina
was there
game.
with me. Yeah, that's right. We were there. The players are overcoming the adversity on the field. just crescendo for 10 seconds and just storms off. Meanwhile, Florida is winning the game by 30 at halftime. Like they've had to overcome a lot of adversity.
They had 4 touchdowns on 84 yards of offense.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was yeah, exactly.
That was also the same Florida game that we watched a guy get hit by an SUV.
Oh yeah, that was a sweet tailgate though. That was a fun. That
was
a
a
fun
great
tailgate.
day.
Yeah. And then someone chased him down. It was peak Florida all around us.
Oh,
We
yeah.
parked in someone's
Oh, yeah.
yard, I think, and
Yep.
just.
A homeless guy ran out from under a bridge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
At my car
This is right.
on the way to
Sonny's
Sonny's.
barbecue.
So,
Yeah, so-
the most Florida day. Got it all in.
Man, yeah, you're right, Jason. Fantastic day. So anyhow, yeah. So go Gators while we're on the subject. But good for South Carolina. Thanks for making college football so dang enjoyable. This brings up a larger problem though. Like it seems like and this is in the NFL too, but people are really into these retread coaches. And I mean, it's kind of like, do you not know what you're getting yourself into? Who knows? But apparently,
The thing is, the head coach gets the first head coaching job because they're a great interview and they can sit down across a desk from you and tell you all the reasons why they're going to be different, and then they can do that multiple times, and they're very convincing every time.
I have no reason to believe that Will Muschamp just doesn't sit in an interview and intimidate his way into.
He
a
just
job.
glares. He doesn't say a word in his
no, what
interview.
he says is he
glares
just looks
across
at
the desk.
defensive plays and just diagrams the problem on every play that was like busted for a touchdown. It's like, well, you see, we got to maintain our gap integrity, and the linebacker has to come over and fill, and then when the safety comes up into the box, the corner's got to get deep. Don't let that man beat him. Like every time, that was how he did it. He can just break down every play, like what went wrong, but like plays continuously go wrong for his teams. So it's like it's kind of Mike London situation, only probably a better coach than Mike London, which is tough. But hey, Florida went 11-2 without an offense 1 year with him, and if it is kind of, I guess, scary to say if he could get out of the
That's the Jim McElwain story,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, yeah, if he could get out of the way of himself on offense, his defense is always going to be good. They're going to be competitive, and so anyhow, I mean, I think Auburn's defense got a lot better this year. As much as people don't want to admit it, they did.
It did.
It's just hard to. It's also hard to play defense when your team is as flaky on offense as Auburn and Florida's was when he was there. So, anyhow, that's plenty of Will Muschamp talk. We'll keep you guys stocked up on gifts and just the just overall Will Muschamp experience moving into 2016. USC maintained their head coach. I want to call him Todd Helton. It's a baseball player. His name is Clay Helton.
Yeah, Clay. Very USC first name.
Clay. Brody and Clay Helton, the Helton brothers, going to be a man in the ship there. So I mean, whatever. The players seem excited about that. It's always kind of cool to see the players be excited for who their head coach is. Kind of just
Wasn't this his second time being the interim there?
I believe.
Yes.
I think it happened 2 years ago too. Well, wait, did he? No, Ogeron, the Coach O took over for
The coach O was there
Kiffin
for a while.
Kiffin, and then, but I feel like you're right. Well, he was
some point, he
was the
was-
head coach when Sarkisian went out the first time, and then Sarkisian then got fired, right?
That's right.
Is that what happened?
I believe so. Yeah, he was the intern for whatever, a week or two or something.
Okay, for the UCF job, I think last week it was reported somewhere that Dino Babers was going to take this job, and that was bad information, evidently. Also,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
SB
listen to
Nation.
podcast Ain't Played Nobody, but what's his name? The guy Stephen Godfrey that tweeted that out addressed him like botching it, and it was actually really interesting to hear his sort of side of the story. So, I maybe shouldn't plug another podcast on our podcast, but it was really interesting just to kind of, like Jason was saying, get into the meat grinder of this whole dark underbelly, rumors, sources kind of machine. What are you gonna say, Jordan?
No, I was just going to say SB Nation gave us bad information, but you saved it.
Well, they did. I mean, they let us all down and aren't to
Right.
be trusted for a while. The 3-4
Never.
is to be trusted.
They're
though.
on thin ice.
We break the big stories at the 3-4, including that we're all going to be in attendance at the Las Vegas Bowl, right? Isn't that, can we break that
Yeah.
officially yet?
Right, boss?
Not yet. Okay, Scott Frost was named the head coach at UCF, though. He was former Heisman-winning quarterback in Nebraska, Scott Frost, and offensive coordinator at Oregon. So I guess, coaching job in Florida. That's pretty cool. I used to dominate on NCAA football like 97 on the computer with him running that wishbone. Yep. Man, he was unstoppable. He had like 97 speed. So pretty cool. Pretty cool for him. And then I guess Barry Odom was promoted to head coach. He was the defensive coordinator, I believe, at Missouri. And I don't know if you guys saw the video of that, but the players reacting to him being named head coach was, got a little dusty. Got a little dusty in the room to see that. So he's a native son and played there back in the day, and now is the head coach. And I think that particular school, Missouri, that's probably the best that they can do for their school is maintain someone within the current administration that knows how it works and really loves Missouri, because I don't see that being a big destination job. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, guys? Any hoops takes? Golden State still hasn't lost since Golden State's undefeated since we started the podcast, guys.
Yeah,
it's true.
I think we.
You're welcome, Steven.
Steven. That's that hard PH. Steven.
Yep, Steven.
We got the Jimmy V Classic firing up this week. College hoops, right? That's always pretty fun. UVA plays West Virginia. That would be a good game. UVA finally cracked into the Jimmy V Classic, so
making moves.
Good for them. Jason, how's the Duke squad doing? I saw they scored a ton of points against Marshall.
We did score a ton of points against Marshall this afternoon. We beat them 107-84.
Good Lord. Ain't no D in Harrisonburg. Yep. I've been saying it for years, though.
I don't have a response to that.
Well, it's the truth, man. Your football team can't stop nobody neither.
Okay.
You guys should have.
The Dukes have won. You guys should have switched to. Keep talking.
Go ahead.
Don't do it. The Dukes have won 5 straight. They're looking good. Welcome George Mason on Saturday. So, non-conference. It's fun.
I think UVA's beat that team before.
Yep. Who's?
Was that this year?
George Mason? Yeah.
That was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I think so.
We lost to George Washington, though.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I think we're 500 against the Georges.
A lot of founding fathers in play.
Yeah. Well, when you're in the Commonwealth, that tends to happen.
Oh, great work, guys. Okay, awesome. In the Commonwealth. All right, well then on that note, thank you guys so much for joining us for this hour and 20-minute montage of just fire takes. We thank you so much. We want to thank the 3-4 for hosting us. You can find the show at The Wheel Route on Twitter. You can send us an email to wheelroutepodcast@gmail.com if you got some problems with something that we said. We will be sure to get back to you. And find us on the34.com. I'm Logan Whitehouse. You can find me at Log1TheDawn on Twitter. And land the plane, boys.
I'm Jordan Shank, at Shank Jordan on Twitter. Have a wonderful week.
Jason Kreck, at Jason Kreck.
On Twitter.
Follow away.
All right, go Hoos. See you guys.
Go Hoos.
Go Dukes.